was not going to make it?
So I haven't heard anything.
Okay, I got an email that said he was feeling under the weather.
Oh, okay. There you go, Alan's out. Okay.
That's what I know.
Right here is our little order, and that's all we have.
All right. I think we should go around the table. Good evening all. My name is Mark Grunblad. I see lots of familiar faces. I'm the chair of Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. If each member would introduce themselves.
You want a second to catch your breath?
No,
Go ahead, Ian, you're up.
I'm good. I've been moving furniture all week.
I'm Julie Ellison Safford. I'm Jane Birmingham.
Scott Davies.
Marissa Marbelli.
Leslie Melvin.
And I'm Lori Hughes, I take the minutes.
I mean, you're the new, everyone else knows that.
It's nice to meet you. We're trying to make this routine.
And Tom Tiano over here.
Let's see, in case of emergency, do not use the elevator. There are stairs. Most of us probably came up for, also on the other side of the council chambers. Please silence cell phones. Excellent thought. There we go. First order of business is adoption of minutes from last month's meeting. Has everyone had a chance to take a look?
I wasn't at that meeting, so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the regular meeting.
September, our regular September.
Yes.
Did we talk about those minutes?
We did at the,
No.
we discussed it briefly and there was one correction if I recall. We did not vote on it at the special meeting. We held it over until this meeting. Am I correct?
I have a concern about those meeting minutes.
Okay.
So I'd like to, if it's
Yeah, well then now would be the
possible-
right time to discuss it.
Okay. So those meeting minutes include transcriptions of the information that was presented by the architect for the ICC and then also community members, but some of our statements were not included.
And that's an issue in your mind? Rob?
I'm wondering that it's almost a change of policy in a way to include full transcriptions of what others have
Yeah,
said.
usually we summarize.
So I'm just wondering if we are going to do that, then it seems like we should probably include more of our commentary or.
Well, we do summarize pretty much what the members say. If the public speaks, it's kind of hard to summarize that. And most of them had a written
Right.
statement that they read, so that's why what.
So should, all right, so is it necessary to copy that over in the minutes? It's a matter of public record anyhow, if
Well,
someone
when-
submits a written
When the
comment.
minutes are addressing a contested application where we're having a public hearing and somebody requests that a written document be made part of the record,
Right.
then that should be done. In terms of the comments of the board members in a similar circumstance, there are circumstances where we should be having the court reporter present to actually transcribe, the meeting. Likely what is going to happen is that a transcript at least of the meeting last week,
Special meeting.
okay, will be ordered and prepared and submitted with any appeal, that is being filed, okay?
It is being filed?
What's that?
We're presuming so.
Well, there's
This
no-
has already had litigation on the subject
Yeah.
property. Chances are excellent that no matter what our decision was, either aye or nay.
Well, there needs to be a written decision first, that's what starts the clock. The written decision is in process, probably will be prepared within, I got your email, I'm formatting it in a decision fashion. I'll forward it to Mark next week, and then Mark can circulate it to everybody.
I mean, there is an online transcription service that they do $1 a minute, so we have recording if we do.
And YouTube also.
Oh, that's a wild one. I've never thought
If
of
we
that.
want to.
Well, for a court proceeding, it has to be done by an official
Court
court
reporter.
transcript.
So because the meeting before was not, we were still deliberating and there wasn't a decision reached, it's not as important to, my only concern.
I wasn't at the meeting before that. My recollection was that, or my understanding is that the transcript is going to be ordered of the portion of the meeting last week where the findings explanation for the decision were rendered, not the specific, not, the entire deliberation.
Okay.
Now, if at some point it progresses to the point where it ends up in front of, court as opposed to, the zoning board of appeals, a transcript of the entire, proceeding may be ordered, including a transcript of the previous meeting and the meeting before that, but we're not at that stage yet.
So my only concern in that the architect's presentation was fully, the transcription was full. A lot of our responses to that were not included. So there's less information about what the board actually said and more information about what the public said and about what the architect presented.
Does that present a problem from our minutes?
It doesn't present a problem from the minutes perspective. Again, if an Article 78 is filed as the respondent in the Article 78 as a municipality, it's our burden to prepare the record on appeal. Okay, and at that point, a determination will be made as to what is transcribed and what is included in the record on appeal.
And again, the only reason why all of the things that, their presentation is because it was given to me and given to all of us, so that's why it was.
Yeah, it was submitted in writing.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it might be more reasonable in situations like that to simply refer to the written submission. And that's part of the public record in any event.
In the
Why
actual
we're
minutes, I have
keeping-
no problem in the actual minutes to just say, written submission was, a written document was submitted by so-and-so, which has been made part of the record and preserved, at the building department.
Okay,
I think
All
that will
right, so they know
simplify
it's
things
all-
for you and make it a lot
Okay.
easier for us to read.
okay, that
Yeah.
works.
Yeah,
And, for argument's sake, if somebody is interested in that, Lynn can probably,
We'll have it,
can
yeah.
probably attach that to the minutes in
Yeah.
the server, so it can just be,
Okay.
so it can just be accessed by anyone.
Okay.
okay, that seems
That works.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we will, I think I will hear a motion to table the minutes to our next meeting. If someone would like to make that motion, I have a feeling we're going to be revising them. Can I get a motion to table the
I think I
minutes?
should move on.
I'll move to table the minutes.
I need a second.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Table the minutes to next one.
All right. We reserved some time at the beginning of our meetings as an open forum for public speaking.
Before we do that, Laura, you also circulated, I think you circulated the minutes from last week of the, from the special meeting?
I did not see that.
No.
Well, that was
it's
just
on
forwarded
the
that to me
website.
for the,
Right.
Oh, for drafting the decision?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
just
we're
in-
not at that stage.
It was a week and a half ago, so, yeah.
Yeah, not a shocker. All right, so we'll have a big clump of minutes to deal with next month. We'll plow right through them. I'd like to, if someone would like to address the board on historic preservation in general, not a specific issue, I would ask that you keep yourself to a couple of minutes and direct your comments to the board. Is there anyone here who would like to do that? Tanya.
Thanks. Hi. The agenda for today, I had a hard time understanding it. I had a hard time getting much from it. Is there? I'm sorry. I'm pulling it up now.
It's right there on the table.
Oh, thanks. Oh, great. So, thank you. The item number 2, proposed zoning amendment to the Kingston zoning law. Is there a reason that it doesn't have details? Like, what is the amendment that's being proposed? That is what I wanted to ask about.
Well,
Why so
It's the
vague?
same amendment that has been before the other committees and referred to this committee. Actually, it was referred to this committee about 2 or 3 months ago, at the same time as it was referred to county planning and city planning. It's on the city website. There are links to it in a number of different places. I believe you were present at the Laws and Rules meeting when we went over it in detail. It's the same proposal. But technically, this board's response to the ZBA
Okay.
proposed modifications was due at Laws and Rules last month, but because Laws and Rules hadn't scheduled their public hearing yet. Another opportunity was given for this board to comment on it. And Laws and Rules certainly will consider whatever comments are, submitted prior to them actually moving on.
Okay.
Okay, does that clarify?
So it's the one that was recently there, so.
Yes,
I
it's.
have a copy here if you want to look at it.
I
And
Oh, I've seen it.
I suspect you have.
Thank you.
Yes, you've seen it many times.
Anyone
We've heard it
else
discussed
with
many times.
a general comment? All right, I'll declare the general comment period closed. We'll start with old business. So we don't have minutes or a written decision yet on the ICC. I don't see there's much for us to discuss.
No, I mean, I didn't know, this has never come up before, so I didn't know what the procedure was. I figured it just to be, better to be safe than sorry, to put them on there, and I didn't know.
Okay, so it was
Coming
carried
back,
over.
because the way it ended was, they kept asking, what else can we do to change
Well, it's also
that?
on the agenda, just to clarify that the written decision will be forthcoming in the next, week or two. But it's in the process of being drafted, that it will be circulated by, Lori when it's drafted, and ultimately, we expect that it'll be signed by, Mark as the chair of the commission.
Yeah, I'm going to want to circulate it, make sure we had sort of sub-votes in there. I want to make sure everyone has the same tallies.
What's the normal process for old business if the applicant doesn't ask? Do they need to indicate that they're going to come back? Or are we just going to hold
If it's-
space every?
No, typically if they don't appear, we hold them as old business for typically a couple of months and try and make sure they show up at the next one, and that's a fairly standard procedure for a long time. But this is an odd circumstance in that we had the special meeting intervening, and there was not enough time to get the sort of stuff we normally get done in a month, done in a week.
Okay.
All right, so on to new business, 14 West Union Street, Ginny Holbert and Chris Allen.
Do you want to move over here and we can sit there?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
This chair.
Yeah, pull up an extra chair. Yeah, come up, have a seat, show us what you're doing. I think we've seen most everything, but this is one where description really, really helps.
Sure.
Thank you, Marissa.
Here's a picture.
I've been moving furniture all week, I understand.
Yeah, probably the best, and I apologize if you can't see it, but the best way to explain it is to look at the house as it is now. It's it's a very visible corner. I believe it was in the 70s, I don't know for sure, but I think someone went in and did a real extensive renovation.
It was in the late 70s, yeah.
Late 70s, okay. It just looks very 70s to me. And they put in this.
So I'm sorry, you're only talking about this section, not the attached?
This is a
structure.
separate home, separate structure, very nicely, redone and taken care of. And so this is our building that we bought in the middle of August. And and this wall is severely bowing.
Ooh.
And part of the problem is that window that was inserted there. So what we're doing on the exterior is primarily tuck pointing, and we have just a great mason, and they're really able to, we're able to use all the same brick that's there, and he's using an appropriate mortar, which what it does is it's making all of these different
Sort of patchwork.
patchwork. It looks good. It's something about the uniformity of the mortar that is making everything else look good. But this, we do want to change this. We want to take this window out. So our proposition is that we essentially restore these two levels of windows, so the second and third floor. simply go back to that same line that's there. During the course of this 70s renovation, the owner lofted this. So from the interior, it's a really spectacular space, and it's, you know, it is appealing to have a lot of light, but I think that with 4 new windows, we'll get plenty of light. It'll still be kind of a spectacular space from the inside, and it will just look a little bit more like it did originally. In the 1950s, it was apparently used as a business, and there were 2 garage doors put in. I don't think those were original. At some point, it was converted to a 2-family. We're going to keep it as a 2-family. So this is living space. And one of the garage doors opening still exists. So our intention is to basically fill that with windows, but so this would represent a wood panel treatment with 2 operable windows, maybe a double hung so you could open it from the top down. So that would fill the space that's right there. Our intention is kind of to keep, I kind of like the workmanlike look of the building, you know, it looks like a business maybe more than a residence, but bring more light in because that is living space down there. So that's essentially the gist of what we're hoping to do. So we haven't done anything on windows, but they're really not salvageable, I wouldn't say, and also every single window is different. And so a lot of them have been replaced, or, I mean, the sizes have changed. This window does not exist anymore. It's very cuckoo, you know, so. Yeah.
Well, it's been messed with for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, and, you know, I guess that's what we're doing too, but, so that's the general plan.
Okay. Do folks have questions about the specifics here?
Were you able to find any earlier photos of the building than what you showed us, or?
No, I've just been handed this today that I'm told was 1952.
Okay.
And it essentially looks exactly the same as in 76, which is the photo the preservation photo
Yeah,
that
I
gave
went
you.
there today, so I saw
Yeah.
it as it looks today.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then, no, we did some research at the library and so on, and in fact, the photo this photo, the building structure inventory form, this photo, I actually watched the Lost Rondout documentary, and we spotted this photo in it. So that, I had seen that photo before I got this from the state. But other than that, I don't have any other information about what it was or who built it or, you know, anything like that.
Yeah, a lot of these early vernacular buildings are round out were, you know, built by local,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, there isn't a whole lot of
Right.
information.
Yeah.
And if anybody else on the question has found some information, please speak up.
No, I think we are as complete as we can be.
I asked somebody, a local historian who knows his photos really well. He said he had not seen
Yeah.
anything of that corner, unfortunately. Which it is, you're right, it's a very visible corner. So can you talk a little bit about did you say tuck repointing?
Tuck pointing, yeah.
It's actually not tuck pointing. That's more of a decorative finish that you do on a repointing. It's just straight up repointing is what you're doing.
Well, it's funny because we come from Illinois, and in Illinois we call it tuck pointing. And I notice around here people call it pointing or...
Check the National Park Service.
Okay.
I would highly advise you to read thoroughly the preservation brief number 2, which talks about
Yeah.
repointing, and
Yeah.
it it describes the differences
Okay.
between tuck
Yeah.
and just straight up.
It's a Midwestern thing.
It is, okay.
Yeah, I can confirm that.
Okay.
And I would only caution, you say you have a good,
Yeah.
mason,
Mason.
which is great,
Yeah.
because this building is.
Yeah, it did.
I walked by this building and really despaired over its
Right.
condition, so I think we're all thrilled to hear that
Yeah.
it's going to get the much needed reporting. If you read the preservation brief, it's online, have a conversation with your mason, make sure he's not using Portland cement, because the building of this age has
Yeah.
most likely has.
I actually have read that, yeah.
Okay.
So like the newer mortar is harder than the.
Yeah, it's harder than the brick.
Yeah, I have read that.
And
yeah.
so the moisture will get trapped.
Right.
Brick
Yeah.
will get compromised,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
like numerous issues,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to
Yeah.
hear that you're.
He's super, I mean, he's kind of amazing, and he has worked on the Vanderbilt mansion, and, I mean, he's just knows what he's doing, and
Yeah, he's familiar with the whole deal.
and he, you know, we're so happy because he's very excited about our building, so.
There's so many things to look at on your building. I know some drastic changes were made in the 70s,
Mhm.
some not quite sympathetic.
Yeah.
Some that the window, which, you know, people in town love that window. It's,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, I agree. I have heard it's not in great condition. It's single pane. It has issues, but just know,
Yeah.
there are people in your neighborhood who love this window. It gives a bit of whimsicalness.
Yeah.
It's quirky.
And 40 years on, it's like, it's accrued a little bit of its own history.
Yeah, I do understand that, and I think about 50% of the people I talk to are like, oh yeah, that just get rid of it, and then the other 50%, well, why would you change it?
Yeah.
You know what, it's for us, it's the way that it goes all the way up to the eave line, that's what
gets to me too.
I can't, it's just,
Yeah.
you know,
The
it
window
looks
is-
really wrong to me.
It's beautiful, but
Yeah.
that detail bothers me as well. The
Yeah.
fact that it goes right up
Yeah.
to the peak of the gable.
I mean, it's, and as everybody has said too, like, if this were on this other side, the house probably wouldn't be falling. So it's these sides that are they're pretty much holding it up, and then the one with the glass in it isn't holding the
It's
roof.
been compromised to
Yeah,
the
and
point
it
that
does
it's
look like
scary.
it caused structural.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you say that, because
I think the man who made that was a local craftsman of some great skill.
Yeah.
His name was Carl Pfeiffer.
oh, this is really good, yeah.
I found it on, there's a Facebook page, I think many of us are members of, called I'm from Kingston.
Okay.
And so if you dig through the photos, you'll find a photo, there was a discussion about this photo.
Okay, is it Pfeiffer with a
It's
PH
not,
or?
it's
Okay.
Pheuffer. He passed away not long after this.
Carl or Charles?
Carl.
Yeah,
So he won't be upset.
And his wife had a one-chair salon in the ground floor. And I
Okay.
think this building has been used for business purposes for a long time.
yeah. Well, there are parts of it that are very beautifully done. I mean, have you ever been inside it?
I have not.
Okay, because the ceiling is very, very nicely done. I mean, they opened up to the rafters, but it's all real wood panel beams. I mean, it's really nice. And then, and it's pretty much insulated, which was a nice surprise to find out. We weren't sure that would be the case.
Yeah.
So there were we can tell that there was a lot of care. I think it's been in neglect and disrepair for the last 14 or so years.
Yeah.
Question on the lintels of both the windows, are
Mm-hmm.
you planning on trying to match?
They are not all there. So the majority of them are there, and then yes, I think we will try to match
rooftop.
For on the, you mean when if we're for adding these windows?
Yeah, the 4 new ones that you're proposing.
Yeah.
I see them on the sketch, it just.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah, the 6/1 is unusual. But, I mean, I see in the 1970s photos, there's 6/1.
And that was in this one too, I guess.
Yeah, you can't see, I see on, I saw them on that, I was also looking at the post street side.
But they're not, it's not consistent even in this older photo.
It's usual it's either 6/6 or 2/1 or 2/2, but it's rarely 6/1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody else here has any thoughts on that. It's unusual.
I'm not wedded to it, I just only did it because that was the biggest cue we had, but I'm not, I mean, if that's not.
I have a question. Where is this small three-pane original window on the north side?
3 pane, it's probably not shown on this view. It's on the back side.
It's on this back side, the opposite of this?
Yes.
I tried to find it on Google Maps, but I couldn't figure out which window you guys were talking about.
I think I saw it today, it's a small window.
Just one.
Is it the
yeah.
one that's right up above, right next to the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be like
Yeah.
this one?
No,
on the
it's
other
like,
side?
it's like this one on the other side, yeah.
And there's only one on that side, of that sort?
Mm-hmm. And also the window on this side is no longer there, so.
And the windows on that side where the three-pane window is, looked like they had all been replaced.
Yeah, that's almost more a awning style window, but, you know, it's just a window about that big.
So the windows, you're going with an Anderson 400 wood double hung with vinyl cladding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we encourage our applicants to stay away from vinyl.
Mhm.
There's not a material that's of historic appropriateness for the neighborhood because it's later. We're okay with aluminum clad
Mhm.
or wood clad painted, but vinyl, we would have a hard time approving vinyl. Because it's synthetic material that doesn't, it's not, a material of the period of the neighborhood.
Probably aluminum wouldn't be either.
Aluminum does a better job of mimicking wood than vinyl does.
What series of windows would you suggest?
I don't know the series, I don't have but I do know that they're a pretty standard wood double hung with aluminum that holds up really well. And price difference, not too much of a difference from vinyl. It just had a greater integrity and it blends in better with the neighborhood. But as a general
Since I did do a
practice,
lot of
we don't
research.
approve vinyl.
Yeah. Well, okay, I think it would be helpful just as a citizen then to, if you have absolute policies like that, you should put them in your materials that you ask people to read. Because it doesn't say that.
Okay, we'll add that note.
It says we encourage, you know, using wood and so on, and sort of in my survey of the neighborhood, when I look at what windows are in, I certainly see vinyl windows.
Right.
Right.
We would never approve them.
Mhm.
A lot of those changes, some of those changes were made either before the district was created or, without our approval. So it's a practice we're trying to stop.
Mhm.
Okay, on our application, there's a couple extra pages, and it does say windows. The use of wood or interior storm windows is encouraged wherever possible.
Mhm.
Rebuild windows wherever possible. Replacement windows should fill the original openings of the building and should also reflect sensitivity to the style and period of the building.
Right, so
Right.
it doesn't say,
So,
right, a certain material is not allowed.
I'm sorry for that, we'll add that note.
Yeah.
And in general, we have a huge variety in all historic districts. We go from the 1600s
Mhm.
to the 1900s.
Mhm.
And so there are a few places where we might consider vinyl in an industrial sort of application. But in yours, it would seem counterindicated. I don't know if we have an absolute rule, but in general, yeah, we try to encourage people to avoid vinyl.
I mean, I think that this is something that you may want to start thinking about, because there are many new materials now that are different sorts of composites and so on. So
And
if
we
you're going
have
to
done that
outright
with
ban
slate
any of them, you
roofs,
need to
yeah.
let people know it. Because I also made a couple of phone calls to, I think to you, Mark, and said I wanted to talk about windows. And I was referred to someone else who didn't call me back. So I'm a little bit taken aback because I thought I had read everything that was provided to me. It is not, it is extremely cost prohibitive to do straightforward wood windows.
We're not, that's why we have the aluminum.
Right,
Aluminum
and
clad.
I'm not sure, I just am asking you then if you know of what brand or what provider that I can look at that would be as attractive and as
I
cost
would,
equivalent to what I'm looking
I
at.
would advise you, give the door jam a call and tell them what you're looking for. They
Mhm.
can spec out a whole range of windows that meet the criteria,
Mhm.
and they're really responsive.
Mhm.
Anderson tends to be on, more expensive,
Mhm.
but I've worked with the door jam on numerous projects, and they spec'd out aluminum clad, wood windows with exterior aluminum clad, and priced very
Mhm.
reasonably.
Although we are not recommending them.
I'm not
Because
recommending.
what I have read is that aluminum cladding isn't as energy efficient or durable. That was the consideration that we were making.
But that's not what I've heard, and I've studied windows extensively.
Mhm.
Aluminum holds up just as well as vinyl, especially if the interior wood is wood. So there's
It doesn't transfer the cold the way.
no. You can get the also the glass, the double pane, whatever coating of the glass.
I think it's E4.
This- What?
Is it E4, am I right?
Yeah, it's the same thermal properties.
Yeah, no, the glass would be the same. I'm just talking about the transfer of
But
the frame is.
vinyl offers nothing better than aluminum. And it holds up better as well over time than vinyl.
Hmm.
I can give me your email address, I can send you some links.
Yeah, that would
on
be great.
research from the
Yeah.
National Trust Historic Subdivision to study this.
Okay. And is it something that requires painting?
No,
Mhm.
you, what's it called, die-cast aluminum does not require painting.
Mm-hmm.
I've spec'd it on dozens of projects,
Mhm.
never had an issue, but I stay away from vinyl at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
It just does not hold up, and
Mhm.
it looks like vinyl
Mm-hmm.
in most instances.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you give me your email address, I'll send you the information that I have.
Yeah, I think it's on the application, so if you don't have a copy of that, let's see. I presume they asked for that? Oh, no, I guess you don't really do a lot of email. Do you want it right now, or?
When you're done,
Well, here,
I don't
I'll
know
just-
the application.
Yeah, I mean, I'll write it down right.
Or I can give you my card and you can email me.
Yeah, I'll do that.
See if you're looking for the correct spelling of boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's not your standard.
Okay, thank you, I have a copy of that.
Great.
That's good, thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments?
We didn't
Alright.
discuss the balcony.
Yes.
It's also part of the application.
Oh, please, then what's your question regarding the balcony?
I don't have a question, but I just thought we should discuss it.
Okay, so what's the plan on the balcony?
I'm going to defer to the contractor, who will tell me, you know, how he thinks it should best be built and attached to the building. But I imagine that we would have a combination of wood and some sort of metal, and the metal with metal railings, painted black. I've been looking at a lot of the balconies in town, and I don't think that we would go for quite as elaborate scroll work and so on as what I typically see on a lot of the buildings, because this is a very different kind of building. So I'm thinking pretty straightforward, you know, a wood post with some metal railings between them.
Tom, what are the safety specs on a balcony? How high?
I believe the railing is to be, I believe it's a minimum of 42 inches.
Okay.
If it's a balcony that's just for looks and not going to be used, doesn't matter if you plan on going out on it. I believe it's a minimum 42 inches high. The space between the spindles no more than 4 inches at the widest part there. If you're using solid pieces, it would be 4 inches all up. If there were any kind of structurally fancy balusters there, as long as it's no bigger than 4 inches between.
Okay. That makes sense.
Could you talk a little bit about the infill that you're going to do on one of the existing garage doors?
Mhm.
Will that maintain the opening, or
Mhm.
so it won't go beyond that original opening?
Won't go beyond, and it won't
Okay.
decrease it.
What material is the window made from?
Window and wood.
So you are using wood there.
Well, that is just a paneling below, basically.
All right. So we've got scope of work here that includes brick restoration and repair. I think everyone is thrilled that that is happening. I think that's unanimity there. The door repair and window repair and replacement. We've got the big window breaking down to 4, recreating the lintels as in the earlier photograph. Is it just going in the locations where you can see where they were originally bricked up on that second story?
Yeah, although it's actually, there are many alterations, so it's really more from the photos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there
So you
are-
can't really tell that much from the wall. It might be a little higher, might be a little lower, but it's
So
going
we can tell something, but it actually, there are even more openings that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a more complicated history than you can
Yeah.
tell from the outside.
Yeah.
But what you plan is symmetrical, like one
Yeah,
above
just-
the, yeah.
Yeah.
As presented in the photo and in the drawings you've submitted. Any other questions about the balcony replacement?
So, and the doors that are there are gonna get replaced with new single glass, single light doors? To go on the balcony, I can't read the photo very well.
The doors that are there, I'm gonna leave
Okay.
as is, yeah.
And the new door that will go sort of in the filled-in garage door, will that be symmetrical in alignment with what's
It'll
on-
be where it is now, and,
It's the existing
Oh,
door.
the
so,
existing, so that's not
yeah,
changing.
and that's
Okay.
not changing. Yeah, so that's just what it is. Yeah.
All right. Any comments on black treatment? I think that would be one of the choices that would go back a long way in the rundown. Especially in a business application. It's hard to tell if this was an industrial or a commercial building, probably both at one point or another. Do we want more detail on the balcony?
You go ahead, sorry. I asked another question, I have to go ahead.
Other question on the balcony. So you're just planning metal top, wooden posts?
Well, I have to admit, I haven't sourced it out yet, so I
Okay.
don't know exactly. But I think the length of it would require, would call for some wider posts interspersed with some thinner metal
So like
posts.
structural and then.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I'm thinking of it, so I mean, and that isn't our first priority. I mean, we want to do it, and it is part of the plan, but I'd much rather get the windows underway. So if you want me to come back with a plan on the balcony, I could do that.
I think that would be
But
good.
I guess if I would prefer to have your predispositions, I would like to know what they are before I come up with something that I think is good and you don't, you know.
But we had discussion about the arrangement of the lights in the window, and I don't know if that ever got resolved. We were talking about
Well, let's
that.
hold that thought, let's
Yeah.
finish talking about the balcony and come back to that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're still talking about
I
that.
thought we were gonna hold off on the balcony.
No,
Okay.
no, she's asking our opinion on the balcony.
Oh, on the
Yeah.
balcony, I'm sorry.
I think it's there, I don't, we never asked applicants to go back and do something that's not part of a project to restore it to something else.
Mhm.
Like, if it's part of the project, and
Mhm.
it's there, it's
Mhm.
there. I think it's been there 40 years now, it's part of the history of the
Mhm.
building, I would not, propose that, removing it. I think the length of it is fine.
Mhm.
I think materiality, wood, metal, or all metal, like
Mhm.
have a metalsmith fabricate something with a sleek profile, so it
Mhm.
doesn't, really
Mhm.
cover up too much of the facade would be fine. I mean, that's why I'm interested to know what my fellow commissioners think of this.
Just no vinyl.
You got that,
But I don't think we would have any issue, again, I'm open to my fellow commissioners' opinions, approving something
Okay, well,
close to
that's,
what's there now.
yeah, I just want to keep it fairly simple, I think,
Yeah.
so.
I think we would agree
Do
with
this
that, and it would be
forward,
true to
so-
the neighborhood as well. We're not New Orleans.
Okay, right. Although, we spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and that was why we liked it.
Well, that's what's supposed to be now.
On the
That's-
corner with that balcony, I was like,
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people approach this building and just like,
yeah.
it just takes your imagination. Again, and then you look at the board, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
For the two windows that you're restoring behind the gable, and what's gonna, did you ask this question already? What's gonna be the,
Mental?
yeah.
I did ask that question.
Yeah, our mason thinks that he can duplicate what's there, so which is bluestone.
Okay. Okay.
So, on this, so what are you doing down here? I understand what you're doing
Yeah.
up there.
Nothing,
At the
this is a
ground
door,
Yeah, okay.
and presumably at one time.
Yeah, there were windows,
the-
right?
Yeah, but that's a door, so we're keeping that a door, and then the windows are basically
Yeah.
being two banks there.
Wonder if we could pull those out and use those.
I think that is his plan, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Yeah. Carefully, pull them out.
Yeah, yeah. He's good.
Yeah, so. And then, I don't know about the 6/1, or I don't,
The photos
honestly, I
show
don't
there, so-
care. I mean, I don't think it's,
I would,
I think 6/6 might be a little fussy, because there are, some of the windows are kind of small, and, but.
Doesn't the house next door have, what is
Yeah,
it?
it does.
It
has
does
like- it has
have,
like six-
is it 6/6?
6/6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have
But they have larger windows,
elongated
yeah,
windows,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's probably a significantly newer building, I'm guessing, too, his building. It looks more like 1900 to me.
this is early, this is pre-Civil War.
The one next to us?
Oh, the
That's the one I'm
next-
talking about.
This one? I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I don't think
This
it
is,
is, it's not 1900s. That's brickwork. That's not 1900s, it's sometime in the, century prior.
Yeah, anyway, it's sort of a different building. He's got the decorative brickwork on top and the cornice.
If you wanted to do 1/1 windows, that's perfectly acceptable for this building. If you wanted to continue the 6/1,
Mhm.
photos show 6/1, you can make an argument for that too. But I think given that this building is such a funky building, it doesn't really necessarily call for strict conformity to,
Mhm.
you know, it's 6/1, therefore every window needs to be 6/1. Like, we're not looking at a fine
Mhm.
Greek revival.
Mhm. Right.
But if they wanted to do 6/1 on the bigger windows, they could still have, like, these upper windows that are 1/1,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. and have
Just
a
the
mix.
small ones, 1/1.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not common to see 6/1.
Mhm.
But there's something interesting about that.
Yeah.
This building has had that since.
It's sort of funny that you say that, because since I walk around all the time and look at the buildings, now I'm seeing a lot of the 6/1. So it's like,
It pops out at you when you look.
yeah, but I think it's probably a better idea to do the smaller ones, just,
Yeah, not divide them up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, if that seems okay to you, then I would probably rather do that.
One last question about the garage door
Mhm.
replacement. Colors there, have you chosen?
Black.
Sensing a theme.
Yeah.
All right. I would move that we approve the repair and repointing of masonry on this building. The replacement of the large window, we probably have the right adjective for that window. The
Well,
big co-
cathedral window, I guess.
Okay.
That's-
The large cathedral window, and restore 4 windows to that facade matching the historic photo using similar lintels.
Right.
Also replacing the present garage door with the window and wood insert as proposed to be painted black. I think those are what I'm hearing everyone in agreement. We would be asking you to return with some additional information on what you want to do with the balcony
Okay.
and some, a little more precision on the replacement windows, whether you're going with the 6/1 or the 1/1 or the 2/1 or whatever makes the most sense. Yeah, do some shopping around. We have had the question of vinyl, and several people have been really pleased to discover that aluminum, or in a couple of cases, wood was way less expensive than they had feared.
Mhm.
So.
Well, I've done tons of research,
All right.
but where does that leave me then with the project?
It leaves you with doing a lot of brickwork, changing that facade fairly extensively.
Mhm.
What is your timeline?
Well, I want to order the windows tomorrow, so that's my concern. I wanna get this building buttoned up for winter, so.
Right.
If, that's why I'm saying I
Would you-
guess if I agree to use aluminum clad windows, can I go ahead and, proceed?
I don't think do we want to prescribe choices on the numbers of lights? I think we can leave that.
We can approve wood or aluminum or, wood or aluminum, I can do your best, most comfortable choices to vinyl.
Mhm.
And we would only ask whatever you ultimately go with, send a cut sheet to Lori.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Lori will run it by us, and we'll just flag it if there's something
Okay.
seriously wrong, but we can go ahead and conditionally
Okay.
approve that.
What's our position on divided lights, the fake divided lights that are just inside the glass?
Can you say that again?
What is our position on fake divided lights that are just the little pieces of plastic inside of the double pane glass?
Well, I think that you had, we discouraged that too, but
Okay.
I read in the application that you were proposing like simulated divided, so it looks like I read that, that's why I didn't ask.
I don't know, I guess I don't know what
They
that
don't
means.
make true divided lights anymore, that's just,
Right.
I mean, you can look at.
But there's the
You can
ones
make
with
it-
just the lines within the glass, and that's what you're worrying about?
Yeah, right.
They actually have projections that provide the sort of shadowing that one would expect.
So that is what you're, okay.
That provides a
Just to
more
make sure.
historic context.
I should have asked you straight out, but I read it in the application, that's what I interpreted that the plan was.
Yeah, I read it and I didn't know what it
But,
meant, so when I.
Scott,
I mean,
that's how we typically handle it.
I guess I'm thinking that to find an attractive and equivalent aluminum window is going to be, I think more expensive than what this architect series, but you don't seem to think that's the case, right?
All I can say is call.
Call them and any of their competitors that you might choose.
That's right.
They will send you, they're very responsive, they
Okay.
can get back to you with
So
it.
different manufacturers.
Yeah,
make
they,
them.
they have a whole series of manufacturers
Right.
that they work with who do a range of different, you work with different materials.
Okay,
And you will have your answer right away.
okay.
I went to Anderson too, and I was like, damn,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
Anderson does good work,
Yeah,
but they are more expensive.
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
so, I'm going to move that we,
Mark,
yeah?
there's one other aspect that hasn't been addressed yet. In your narrative,
Yeah.
you also asked to install a back door at the rear of the
Oh,
building.
yeah, back door.
Oh,
yeah.
is that visible from the street?
This on the back of the house next to Post Street, and that house, because it's a West Union Street address, are you looking from
Okay,
Post Street?
so I know it's hard to know which is the back, but where we'd like to put that is there are two windows, well, there's the Union Street side and then the Post Street side. So then the other side across from the Post Street side is where we'd like to put the window, toward the rear, or excuse me, the door.
Can you show
Yeah.
this photo?
Yeah, so that window, right there, we'd like to turn it into a door.
Excuse
So
me.
the opening is already there with a window, you're just gonna enlarge it.
That's what we'd like to do,
Is that
yeah.
what she said? Yeah. I'm looking at
Excuse
it
me, if
upside
you
down,
could.
so.
You can give me a sense as
Sorry,
well.
so
Sorry.
there are two windows here, and we'd like to turn that into a door. It's not, a deal breaker, it feels like it would be, there's a front door, and then it just feels very closed in, so I just think it'd be nice to have a cross breeze.
How much of that land do you own?
Not
at the
much,
back?
it's
Do you have, like,
a
enough-
5 feet, yeah.
5 feet.
Yeah,
So you have
there's a
enough to make a back
survey.
line.
Yeah, and
here.
back in the garbage and all of that stuff, yeah.
No, but any alterations to the outside exterior building, this board would have to approve, so might as well get it all done at once
Okay,
here. If you're gonna do
yeah.
it, they can
Okay,
make
so
those decisions now
that,
and too.
yeah, and that, yeah, so like I said.
I'm just trying to orient myself with
Yeah,
that.
it's more or less going to be
Both windows confronting it.
facing the Broadway.
No, just one.
Obviously, there is no backside. Even though it's a West Union Street address, this is the front of the building.
Right.
They're looking at it from Post Street as the front of the building, and the door would go in this section back here.
Right in
Back
here.
To
Okay,
maintain
so it would
the
be
same
barely
as the
visible
window
from
or
this.
the door,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
only like a 30 inch.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a small.
That's
It's
small
it's
door.
actually pretty visible.
Oh, really?
I thought it was. I mean, when I was taking pictures, I thought it's not hidden.
Is that like
you
a
know.
big
No,
kitchen?
but
Yes, where the kitchen is.
walking by, it
Did you
wouldn't,
see
it
it?
would
There's a
not
kitchen.
be.
I've got a kitchen with a 30-inch door, you
Yeah.
can't even refrigerator through
Yeah,
it.
yeah, there's a kitchen window and then a couple of pipes and then this other window, so, yeah. I mean, as I said,
From your standpoint,
Well, the opening is there for a window. To enlarge it to make a door, not a big deal.
Okay.
If they were taking a wall out and forming a door in, then
that would be a.
more structurally changed in there, would definitely have to be an engineer to sign off on it, there would be no problem with this.
All right.
The back.
All right.
And it's a curious arrangement of those two windows too.
Yes.
So do you have a stoop then? Because
I don't know, I guess I haven't thought of that. What, I mean, I don't
the only
think it's
my other
just at
concern
ground
is
level.
that 5 feet that you're working with, you know, if you have a stoop, is this
I
gonna be
don't
like?
think so, no, I think it's basically at ground level, so we don't need stairs down to ground level, yeah.
Are you replacing the window that'll be next to that door? No, right? Yeah, you are.
And since you're gonna have a wider opening for the door than the window, obviously you're going in this
Yeah.
direction, right?
Well, we're stuck with the brick, I mean, what we're trying to
With the
do
lintel
is
above?
to stay in that brick opening.
Okay.
Yeah, so we are getting a little bit narrower of a door, yeah, which, and
Pretty
I've
typical.
been referred to the door jamb before, so.
This wasn't the first time.
Yeah, they're used to trying to fit Kingston.
Yeah, as I said, it's not, you know, it's just one more expensive thing, but it just would be, I think it would be nicer to have like that's where the kitchen is, you could take out your garbage, you could, you know.
Given all of the work that's been done on this building, I think you should be great at that door.
Yeah.
One alteration, not gonna kill it.
Who knows when that might even happen, these two windows.
Well, yeah.
All right, so I will attempt to summarize one more time. I move that we approve repair and repointing of masonry, replacing the large cathedral window and restoration of 4 wood or aluminum clad windows to the facade to match the historic photo with lintels to match what's on the building now. Replacing the garage door with window and wood insert as proposed to be painted black, and to expand window opening in rear and replace with a door. And
Specs of the window will be sent to the building safety division.
Okay.
as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And we will ask you to, I'm not putting this in the resolution, but we'll be looking to you to come back when you have more detail on the balcony. Fair enough? Do I have a second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Thank you very much for
Thank you.
for your
Very
interest in
thorough
this
examination
wonderful
of our
building.
project.
We picked through, it's true, we
It's a
did.
great building.
It is, and may your plans look like they're really gonna make it that much better. It sounds exciting.
We're
to us.
excited. I feel
Yay.
like we have
So how did you
a good
uncover
team
this
plan.
building from Illinois?
Well, our daughter and